Welcome to today's episode of How the Game Was Won. We're still at the FIDE Grand Prix in Tashkent, Uzbekistan. And for today's game, we're looking at the encounter between Mamadyarov as white and Gelfand as black. This is the second game of 3 that I'll be looking at from round 3. Although the computer gives the opening officially as a King's Indian with unusual lines, at the same time the structure setup closely resembles that of a Benoni as well. But let's scamper through the opening couple of moves and start looking at the positions as they start becoming interesting. We start off with, as a d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight f3, bishop g7, e3 castles, all very standard as far as King's Indian is concerned. Bishop e2, c5, d5, d6, castles, e6, knight c3, e takes d5, and c takes d5. And although, as I said, resembling a Benoni setup, it's a little bit passive from Mamadyarov with the pawn on some of the aspects that make the position look a little bit passive will be obviously the pawn that's sitting on e3, which means that the dark square bishop is trapped behind it on c1 with not a very speedy way of getting that bishop developed and into the thick of things. Black is supposed to have quite a bit of counterplay in many different ways, especially from the perspective of piece mobility. But let's see how things progress from here. We've got bishop g4, e4. There are many games at Grandmaster level obviously kicking off from this position, and almost every single one of them have white to move in this position. So in other words, the fact that it's black to move in this position is indicative of the fact that Mamadyarov's play has been passive, and especially with the e-pawn that first moved to e3 and then to e4, lost him effectively a tempo along the way. Black continued with e8, queen c2, knight bd7, bishop f4, and in this position playing queen e7 would be the more natural move to play, with an attack on the e4 pawn while at the same time defending d6. But in the game itself, Gelfand played bishop takes f3, followed by bishop f3, which now effectively leaves Mamadyarov with the bishop pair, and in its own way has managed to allow Mamadyarov to be able to get his bishops much more mobilized than what they were just a couple of moves ago. Here we continue with knight e5, bishop e2, a6, a4, and in this position I was looking at the possibility of, say for instance, a knight h5, but I'm not too sure about the correctness of this move. The computer still gives white as a slight little bit of an edge, especially with the possibility of bishop takes and g takes, which leaves a little bit of a hole in front of the king. And it might have been good to see Gelfand sacrifice his structure like this 2 times in a row with his black pieces, but the more I think of it, maybe the move that he played in the game, rather than absolutely demolishing his own pawn structure, might have been the stronger one to do, which was, if I double back quickly, Gelfand played rook c8. But all of this was very much still within their opening preparation. So Mamadyarov continued with rook ae1. We went queen b6, rook a1, c4, a5, queen d8, bishop e3, knight fd7, knight a4, h5, h3, queen e7, rook ac1, and in this position the Gelfand makes his mistake, which is too much of a slow move. Looking at the position, what I'd say is probably just about his best possibility here from the point of view of equalization would come from playing, for instance, knight d3, bishop d3, c takes, queen takes, rook takes, queen takes e4, which is more or less simplified the position down into a very drawish looking endgame. But in the game itself, Gelfand decided to drop his king down to h7, which allowed Mamadyarov to carry on with b3 and c takes and queen takes, which now effectively opens up the b file and gives black some pretty serious problems back at b7. Just to go through the next sequence of moves is Gelfand playing knight f6, queen b4, rook takes, which obviously leaves the white rook clear on the open c file as well. So you've got black controlling both the b and c files. Bishop h6, which is obviously the reason why he brought his king up to h7 earlier. But still, we've got the exchange of the bishops. Knight b6, knight ed7, exchange of the knights, and the b pawn falls. Knight c5. Here on the next move, I think Mamadyarov goes slightly off cue because he's sitting with the awesomely strong queen b6 at his disposal. Which just threatens to rip the remainder of the queen side wide open and give his a pawn marching practice all the way through to the 8th rank. But instead he played queen takes e7. Obviously rook takes, f3 just to strengthen up the pawn chain, and with black not having a white square bishop on the board, that pawn chain is just looking extra strong. So we continued with f5, rook b1, f takes e, which evens out the Mamedyarov situation, but doesn't really get Gelfand back into the game from a positional point of view. Rook b6, e takes f3, bishop takes f3, rook d7. Here what I was looking at is the possibility of white playing bishop e2 with king g5, bishop a6, knight a6, rook takes, king f5, king f2, king e5. Looks to be getting black enough activity to be able to hold out for the draw, but it's really going to require fairly accurate play going from here on in. But still, black seems to have enough to be able to hold out for the draw there. Getting back to the position as it was, white played king f2, followed by king g5, king e3, king f6, king d4, rook d8, bishop e2, and here again black played king e7, which means that he's able to, he gets back far enough to be able to hold onto his pawn for the moment. But the position is becoming more and more uncomfortable as each move passes. But that being said, how does white actually really make progress against this position? Well, for starters, we play rook c6, rook b8, rook c7 check, king f6, and we play the really interesting sacrifice of rook c5. Because even though we're sacrificing the exchange here, the d pawn that's going to become a pass pawn is enough compensation to be able to keep white safe in this position. So obviously it's d takes check, king takes, rook c8, king b6, king e5, bishop a6, rook c2, bishop f1, rook f2, bishop c4, and I need to pause the game here because at the moment Gelfand was sitting in a little bit of time trouble as well, so there was a bit of pressure and he was needing to come up with a move relatively quickly, and for that he missed the possibility of king d6 to be able to take up the king opposition and keep equality in the position, because in this situation white simply won't be able to push the pawn because of the positioning of black's king. If you take, for example, the possibilities of a6, rook b2 check, a7, rook g2, for instance h4, rook a2, a7, rook a7, king a7, king d5, or for that matter, going back to the position as it was after rook takes g2, go a7 straight away. We play rook a2, bishop a6, rook b2, and bishop b5, or for that matter, bishop c6 and g5 is sufficient counterplay for black to be able to hold the position. But instead of doing that, he looks at the hanging pawn in g2, and in an act of rashness goes straight for that, and immediately leaves him with a totally lost game, because all white now needs to do is go a6 and, for instance, king d6, a7, rook b2 check, king a5, and now because the bishop will be able to cover a2, there's no ways for the rook to be able to come into there. So getting back there to the rook f2, Mamadyarov just cranked up the pressure and just rolled it home. See, rook f8, bishop b5, rook a8, d6, king e6, h4, g5, h takes g, and now bearing in mind leaving black's pawn on the h file simply because the bishop is covering h1, so there's no real danger there. The bishop's covering h1, you've got 1, 2 and 3 passed pawns that the king and rook need to be able to defend against all on their own. It's really not enough to be able to hold the position. And just to show you, we continue with h4, d7, king e7, g6, h3, g7, h2, and in this position white played the only real move, which is bringing the bishop up to c6, which, as I mentioned before, although slightly prematurely, covers that h1 square, hits the a8 square, and you've got the white pawn able to just do a casual march through, and there's nothing really to be able to stop it. I'm just looking at the computer now, and it's even giving this as a mate in 8 situation, so obviously Gelfand resigned. But for the benefit of everybody, let's just play through the mate in 8, which is, if you want to, pause the position here and see if you can calculate mate in 8 moves for white. Rook g8. Okay, after rook g8, sorry, it wasn't 8 moves. Can you see the mate in 7? Pause here and calculate it for yourself before I play it through. Okay, the mate in 7 goes a7, King f6. Can you see it? Queen over there. King g7. Queen takes. King takes. Grab another queen. King f7. Bishop e8. King g8. Queen g5, King h7, Queen g6, King h8, and obviously if the black pawn weren't there, there would be a serious threat of stalemate here, but because the black pawn is sitting there, we can afford to play bishop e7, which means that obviously the black pawn has to queen, which makes no difference whatsoever as we wrap it up with checkmate. So that's how the game was won. Please post your comments and questions down below, and while you are down below the display there, click the thumbs up button, the like button. That gets this video distributed much more widely through YouTube for many more people to be able to use this for their chess learning purposes, and share this amongst your chess friends, and please subscribe to my channel. That way you can stay up to date on new games as I post them on a week-to-week basis. Stay safe out there. See you next time. Cheers.